This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And welcome in, folks, to another edition of Open Mic Night. I'm your host, Noah Lukey, and on today's episode, folks, Matthew Stafford, it's getting more and more real as he was traded to the Los Angeles Rams. We're going to break down that trade for you later. Also, since the Lions have officially gotten rid of Matthew Stafford, who do they take now in the draft? We'll discuss that more later as well. And also, what is this signing at quarterback now for the Lions with Jared Goff? What does this mean for the offense moving forward? And I'll give a little bit of a Super Bowl preview. We'll do talking about the Chiefs and the Bucs for Sunday. But hopefully everybody enjoyed their weekend. I know it's really, really cold. I know over here in Cleveland where I am, we are getting some snow from that nor'easter that came through just over the weekend and into this week. I don't know if Detroit's getting any snow. I think you guys were over there, according to my parents. But stay warm out there. Stay safe on the roads, especially if you're listening to this in the car. Definitely need to be safe out there during the winter time. But it's interesting now because I didn't think that the trade would be done this fast. We all knew that Matthew Stafford was going to be out of here last week. But then there were reports that, it might be done before the Super Bowl. But I just never thought that would materialize. But then when it was done on Saturday, I thought, oh my goodness, wow. And I got a call from my friend. I was about to leave for a restaurant, actually, because we have restaurants open here in Ohio, and I think Michigan just opened up as well. But it was, I said, I couldn't believe it. And I said, well, who do we get? My buddy said, a third-round pick 2021, a first-round pick 2022, first-round pick 2023, and Jared Goff. I will admit, my first reaction was kind of like, what? Jared Goff? Really? I was like, interesting. Okay. Like, I didn't expect that. But, we knew that Matthew Stafford's first choice was Los Angeles. And, he has a home there. Kelly and him have a home in Newport Beach. And obviously, they're very, very close now with Clayton Kershaw and his family because, how many times have we had to hear that Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw, are high school friends, high school teammates in football and baseball and all that. But he's finally back in L.A. With Clayton Kershaw, so I guess they can hang out now. And, they had basically Stafford departing Detroit for the ocean. And he was actually spotted with Sean McVay and his wife, or his fiance, and Kelly and Matthew. They were down in Mexico having a little lunch on the ocean there. So I thought it was interesting. Could the Lions look into tampering and all that? I don't know. I don't know the details of it. I just know that they were down there. But I thought it was definitely interesting. Just, kind of, Detroit really cold and gray right now, and he's departing for sunny L.A. with the beaches and all that. He's trading the Great Lakes for the Great Pacific Ocean, if you will, with nicer weather. But I really wish Matthew Stafford the best, and we'll do, when the trade becomes official and all that, we'll do a whole tribute for him and everything. That won't become official until March when the new league year pops up. But I definitely thought this was an interesting trade, and I love how the Lions got all those picks, and that's what you need if you're a team that needs to build for the future, is you need those first-round picks. And, I mean, there's 5 first-round picks within the next 3 years. I mean, because they're going to get one automatically in 2022 and 23, obviously. So you add one more to that for the next 2 years. It's 5 in 3 years. I mean, that's really good. And I really, really liked it. At the time, I didn't, because I thought, well, Jared Goff, isn't he horrible? But when I was looking more into the stats and looking more into some film analysis of Jared Goff, Jared Goff isn't really that bad. They're just at odds. The Rams were just at odds with him, and they just wanted to move on. I think they made it pretty clear that Jared Goff is just not part of their future, and McVay wanted somebody else, and obviously that somebody else is a seasoned veteran quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Jared Goff, I believe, will be 27 this year, and I think it's just one of those things where he just needs a fresh start. Maybe he needs to get away from the West Coast. He's been on the West Coast his whole life. Come to Detroit. Am I saying it's going to work out? Am I saying that we're going to be successful with him? No, I'm not saying that. But I'm thinking that there might be some hope here because of the change of scenery. There's Anthony Lynn, the new offensive coordinator for the Lions. Maybe Goff gels with him, and maybe the Lions do find a little bit of success in the next few years, because they're only going to have Goff for 2 years. That's the max amount of time that they have. So 2021 this season, then 2022. And then the good thing about the deal is that the way Goff's contract is set up and how the trade was set up, the Lions can cut him after 2 years for nothing. They don't have to pay anything or give the Rams anything or anything like that. So the thing is like, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. After 2 years, he's gone. You can go somewhere else. So that's why I think, looking back, when I looked at it for a second time, I thought, I like this. I like how it's one of those like low risk, high rewards kind of things. But it's definitely necessary. The Lions have to hit on these picks. They have to hit on these first round picks for the next few years. And I think it's also important because then it leads to my point about, who do the Lions take now in the draft? They don't have to take quarterback anymore. Last week, we had talked about, they're probably going to have to take a quarterback. Obviously, the world of the NFL changes. It can change very, very rapidly, and they don't have to. This is the problem with NFL teams. A lot of teams, they feel, and this is my opinion, a lot of teams, they feel like they have to take a quarterback some years, and then what happens is they get stuck with a guy like a Sam Darnold or Josh Rosen or whoever, just because there's a quarterback there. That might not be their guy, but they have to take a quarterback because, they need one, and there they are. The Lions don't have to do that. They don't have to take a guy that they may not want. What if Zach Wilson is already taken, and what are they going to be stuck with, Justin Fields or Trey Lance? I mean, those guys are talented, but they have a lot of question marks at the NFL level. I think Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence are more of the guys that maybe will have more season success in the NFL than, at least for right now. Maybe they're more seasoned up to this point. Not as many question marks as Fields or Trey Lance or some of the other guys like Mac Jones and all them. So I think this affords the Lions an opportunity to be able to, maybe draft another quarterback within the next few years instead of have one just to have one, even if it's not their guy. Because as great as Trey Lance or Justin Fields were at the collegiate level, I have a lot of doubts about them at the NFL level. I mean, look at the history of Ohio State quarterbacks. Have any of them really fared in the NFL? Not really. Oh, but Justin Fields is different. Yeah, I feel like he could be different, but there's just too many questions, too many question marks about them that I just don't want to take a risk. And if you're really banking on the future, that's how teams get in trouble. So if in the next few years the Lions are at a position where they can draft their guy at quarterback, the guy that they 100% believe will be the cornerstone of this franchise for the next 15 years, like I've been saying, they have to take one of those types of quarterbacks, then go ahead. Do it. You have 5 first-round picks in the next 3 years. Plus, if Jared Goff is really, really working out over the next 2 years, maybe the Lions keep him. Maybe the Lions think that he's their cornerstone. I mean, he has won playoff games. He has been to a Super Bowl, 2 things that Matthew Stafford never did in Detroit. But this is a new type of regime. There's just something new about this. This isn't an old stale bit like the New England Patriots, the Patriot way coming in with Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. This is something where they're hiring legitimate football people. I mean, Dom Capers was hired as a senior defensive assistant a few days ago. I mean, he's one of the greatest defensive coaches of all time. And he's on the Lions staff now. Now, granted, he's not a coordinator, he's not a position coach, but he's still a guy in the room that can give advice to some of the younger coaches, or give advice here and there about certain coverages or certain offenses and schemes and all that. So that's a huge asset. I mean, and then there's obviously Anthony Lynn, in my opinion, was a great hire at offensive coordinator, and then Hank Fraley, they kept him. He's probably the best assistant that the Lions had last season. I mean, there's a lot of competent football minds, and Deuce Staley, another very respected assistant coach. Later on, when they fill out the staff, we're going to go through an in-depth little analysis of each position coach and, maybe talk about how they can help the Lions moving forward. We'll get more into that in a later episode. But they are hiring a lot of competent football minds that seem like they know what they're doing. And I know it's very, very early in the process. We haven't even had the draft yet. But as of now, I've been very, very impressed. And I trust the Lions right now with their process. I trust what's going on. I trust Jared Goff to do well with the Lions. But, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I think Jared Goff will perform at a good level the next 2 years. I don't think he's going to be absolutely terrible. Like I mentioned, I think it just maybe was a change of scenery that he needed. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see. Now, how does he fit the offense? That was another question I had. And we kind of have to look at the offense right now. Are there pieces on the offense? Of course there are. There's TJ Hawkinson, the Pro Bowl tight end. There's DeAndre Swift, the young running back who seems to be the future of the running game for the Lions. They even have Kerryon Johnson, who some people forgot about last season because he was more of a pass-blocking back. His role on the team shifted once they drafted DeAndre Swift. Who knows if Adrian Peterson will be back or not. Marvin Jones is the one receiver that I question about being back. And there's a couple. I don't think Danny Amendola is coming back, but one of the main guys is Marvin Jones, and he has expressed interest in looking at free agency. He had publicly said he is very, very excited about free agency to look at other teams. And I think he wanted to be closer to his family, and his family is from Rancho Cucamonga in California, just outside of L.A., and one of his good buddies, Matthew Stafford, is the quarterback for the Rams now. Could you see a little Marvin Jones, Matthew Stafford relationship in L.A., outside of Detroit? We shall see. I think Marvin Jones ends up with the Rams. That's my prediction. I don't think Marvin Jones is coming back. He'll be a Ram next year. That's my prediction. And I know Matthew Stafford, we've heard him mic'd up talking about, hey, the 9-11 connection, 9 Matthew Stafford's number, 11 Marvin Jones' number, so they're definitely friends for sure. And Matthew Stafford made Marvin Jones a better quarterback. You look at what Marvin Jones did in Cincinnati. He was always like the number 2 guy to A.J. Green, and he never really had quite the production in Cincinnati as he did in Detroit. And, for 5 seasons with Matthew Stafford, Matthew Stafford, in my opinion, made Marvin Jones who he is. And he made guys like Golden Tate better as well. So there's people out there that say, hey, I know you people out there that say, Matthew Stafford doesn't make anybody better. I think he made Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, among some other guys really better. And he did that really with no run game throughout his career. I think it's going to be a great fit in L.A. for Matthew Stafford. Hopefully Marvin Jones joins him there too. That'd be a nice little 1-2 combination with the Rams. And offensive guru, Sean McVay. By the way, shout out to my cousin, Owen. He's from Atlanta and actually attends the same high school that Sean McVay did, Marist, a Catholic school down in the Atlanta area, Brookhaven, I believe. So quick shout out there. I know the McVay legacy is pretty big over there. So awesome to hear. But I think it's going to work out. I think Matthew Stafford's going to have a career resurgence with the Rams, and I'm not saying Super Bowls. I'm not saying win playoff games just yet. But I think he's going to perform well. I think he's going to put up some good numbers in Sean McVay's offense. It's crazy to think that Sean McVay is only, I believe, 2 years older than Matthew Stafford. That's just some of the young coaches these days. They're just about as old as some of the players on their own team. But McVay has proven to be successful. He has been to a Super Bowl, and he's still in his 30s. Just unbelievable what Sean McVay has been able to do and that youth effect in the NFL. It's pretty remarkable, not going to lie. So Matthew Stafford off to Los Angeles. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Lions offense right now. And, I know we mentioned Marvin Jones. Another guy we had to mention, Kenny Golladay. It seems like he's going to be back. It seems like from all the talk that he's been saying, he says he's really, really excited for this Dan Campbell era. So we assume that the Lions are going to pay him. And it's important, in my opinion, and I've said it for a long time, it's important that the Lions pay him. It's important that he's back because it's going to give whoever's the quarterback, which we know is going to be Jared Goff for next season, or for whoever it is moving forward, they have to have a primary weapon. And Kenny Golladay, when healthy, and I know his health has been in critical concern the last few years, but when healthy, Kenny Golladay is one of the better receivers in the NFL. So we'll have to wait and see, but I think Kenny Golladay will be back in a Detroit Lions uniform. Look at the offensive line, too. These are guys that are really going to have to step up and be the leaders in that locker room now since Matthew Stafford's going to be gone. So, Taylor Decker, left tackle, he's a solid left tackle for the Lions. He barely gave up any sacks last season. We got Frank Ragnow, a Pro Bowler center. These guys are going to have to really step up. Jonah Jackson, the rookie, he's going to have to step up big time next year. I mean, the O-line is not that bad. I didn't think that they played awful last year. I mean, were there holes? Of course, the right side of the line was definitely a hole. But I think over time, this group is going to gel, and those leaders on the team, like I mentioned, are going to step up and provide that necessary leadership and just getting those guys ready to play. And, there were O-line problems for Jared Goff last season, but hopefully he doesn't have those same issues like he had in L.A. But I will say this, and I was, looking at film analysis of Jared Goff, as I mentioned before, and something that I noticed is that Jared Goff really struggles when he's under pressure. That's a big thing. And, we saw Matthew Stafford running around out there, when he was under pressure. So I'm a little bit nervous as to how Jared Goff will be when he's under pressure. Because sometimes, especially that weak side, that right side of the offensive line, how many times is Jared Goff going to be under pressure? But the good thing is, when he's not under pressure, Jared Goff is the 6th best quarterback in the NFL. So I wonder what Anthony Lynn is going to dial up for him. I wonder if we're going to see a lot more play action with the Lions. Because in recent years, that play action, it doesn't seem to work a whole lot because I see the defense just does not bite on the run at all because they don't respect the run game because the Lions don't have really a run game. But I wonder if they're trying to really establish that run game with DeAndre Swift like we've been seeing in the last few seasons, like they did earlier with Kerryon Johnson a few years ago. I really wonder if Jared Goff is going to be running a lot of play action, because especially if they can establish that run early in the season, that'll get teams to bite, and then Jared Goff with the play action can hopefully have a protected pocket and be able to safely move around without being under pressure because, as we know, he's the 6th best quarterback in football when he's not under pressure. So being able to find those open receivers, it makes it a lot better. So who knows? Maybe that's just a theory of mine that maybe we're going to be seeing play action with Jared Goff a lot more with Anthony Lynn as offensive coordinator and all that. But that's something to talk about more later on when we're closer to that. But it's just something interesting to think about and consider as the Lions make these big moves on offense. By the way, just a side note, I don't know if anybody saw, but there was a lot of other teams out there that wanted Matthew Stafford. I mean, there were teams like, I think Chicago was interested. There was Washington, Carolina. I think that package might have even included Teddy Bridgewater in it. Denver had called him. There was a lot of teams that were interested in Matthew Stafford. But the one team that he did not want to go to, I mean, LA was his number one choice, but the one team he did not want to go to was New England. I thought that was interesting. He doesn't want any part of anything with Matt Patricia or any of that, what the regime created over the last, 3 or 4 years. So I thought that was definitely unique and, doesn't want Belichick. And I think Boomer Esiason was saying something like, well, Stafford doesn't want to be good or something. Stop. Enough talking about that, Boomer. Please. That's not true. Stafford doesn't want to go to New England because, he doesn't want to be elite. He doesn't want to be good. No. Stafford doesn't want to deal with any of those New England problems like Matthews, like he dealt with here with Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn. I think that's just about as simple as it is. But I'm happy for Matthew Stafford. Like I said, I think it's going to be a good experience for him in L.A., and it's exactly what they wanted. The Lions know that they messed up with Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson, and they wanted to give their third superstar, one of their top 3 players of all time, a chance to go where he wanted, to end on good terms. So there's always that question of what's the reaction going to be like when Matthew Stafford comes back. Unfortunately, he won't be back this season at Ford Field, but they will play the Lions, but it's going to be in L.A. I think the reaction would be great. I think all the fans would stand up, give him a standing ovation. They'll probably do a little video tribute to him like the Tigers did with Justin Verlander. I just think that the fans I think that people really like this trade, and I do too. I think it's way more friendly to the Lions than it is to the Rams. The Rams are basically saying they want to win now, and they have a defense to prove it. I know they lost, Brendan Staley, the guy I wanted for the Lions head coaching job, to the Chargers, and there were other assistants that left as well. Obviously, Brad Holmes has gone out of the Lions with Ray Agnew and some other key front office pieces, but I still think the Rams are a good enough team, especially defensively, and it's with Stafford now adding that, getting him the ball, getting him some weapons, like Cooper Kupp amongst some others. I think it's going to be good. And Stafford will enjoy the weather. He's playing in a dome. I know in the LA weather is a lot nicer than the Detroit weather. I know Kelly and all them are really happy about it. So I wish Matthew Stafford the best of luck. And, hopefully it works out with Jared Goff and company here in Detroit. To end the show, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, a little Chiefs and Bucks preview, I guess. Don't want to go into the big details of it. These aren't teams that we like here in Detroit. They're outside of our market, I guess. So I don't want to dive into it too deep, but I love watching the Super Bowl. I don't care what teams are in it. Obviously, I wish the Lions were in it, and I dream that one day the Lions will be in that Super Bowl. But, every year it's just like, oh, when are we going to be in it? When are we going to be in it? Every single year. I love watching the game. And, I've been at school for the past couple years, so I haven't been at home to watch the game. But I really, really like my dad's sausage bread that he makes. He makes, kind of like a pepperoni roll, but it's got sausage in it. With pepperonis and other things. It's kind of like a meat roll, and it's just really, really good. And I love eating that when I watch the game. It's just a big tradition that my dad makes. He makes it every year, and something I'm going to miss this year because I won't be home for the Super Bowl. Maybe next year. I'll be back since I graduated, but I really enjoy a lot of the traditions involved with it. And, I watch the game very intently and closely. I know some people, like at the party I would go to back in the day, a lot of people who weren't interested in the game, they would just go off to the side and just talk at a table and socialize just by themselves and have nothing to do with the game. But it's, then there's all the pomp and circumstance. You got the commercials and, I like playing Super Bowl squares sometimes just for fun, just for a couple bucks here and there. But then the commercials, the halftime show. I watch all of it. It's probably the only time I actually enjoy commercials because, the Super Bowl time. But it's an exciting time of the year. I really, really enjoy Super Bowl Sunday. And everybody should have that Monday off because I know there's a lot of people that call in sick and all that. But we did get lucky back in the day. We did have some snow days at school. So we didn't have to go to school the day after the Super Bowl. Which was exciting because of all the snow. But old times, good memories for the Super Bowl. But Bucks and Chiefs, great matchup, I think. Tom Brady, part of the old guard, if you will, 43 years old, versus the new guard, Patrick Mahomes, 24, 25 years old, younger guy, young gunslinger. It's crazy that Patrick Mahomes was only like 5 or 6 years old when Brady won his first Super Bowl. It's just crazy how much older Brady is than the rest of the league. But I'm really cheering for Brady. I don't really care who wins. The Chiefs have obviously a great offense, and the Bucks, their defense has really carried them in the playoffs. Devin White making a lot of those plays, and Brady hasn't really had to do a ton. Brady has made plays. He threw 3 interceptions in that game against the Packers in the NFC Championship, but the defense did enough to hold on to that victory. I really hope Brady wins. I've always respected Brady. I know there's people out there that hate him and say, I don't like you anymore, pretty boy Tom Brady and all that. No, I've always respected Tom. He's a Michigan graduate, as well. So a lot of the Michigan fans out there, they knew him even before he became the famous NFL quarterback. They knew him in college. So they had a little advantage on some of the other people out there. But I'm really cheering for the Bucks, and I think the Bucks eke this one out. I do. I think their defense has proven to be good enough in the playoffs, and I think they're going to devise some sort of plan to shut down Andy Reid's offense and Patrick Mahomes. You got to think about it. It's just so hard to repeat. You know how hard it is to repeat in the NFL? The Chiefs definitely seem poised to do it, but I don't know. There's that drive with Brady to get another ring. There's that drive with Bruce Arians to get his first ring as head coach, and just really for the entire city of Tampa, the entire Tampa area. I mean, they haven't had one since John Gruden was their coach, and they've been looking for a savior really ever since. And it's just amazing how one player, Tom Brady, can really help turn that franchise around. I don't want to over-glorify Tom Brady because, he is 43 years old, and he has made some mistakes this season with the ball. But I just think that a lot of it's in the Super Bowl is really who wants it more. And just for some reason, I just feel like the Bucs are going to want this one a little bit more than the Chiefs, just off of that end. But talent-wise, I think probably lean more towards the Chiefs in terms of talent, but I don't know. I just really think that the Bucs are going to pull this one off, and it's going to be a heck of a Super Bowl, obviously in their home stadium, too. That could be a part of it because they already know they know the dimensions of Raymond James Stadium. They're already familiar. I doubt the players will have to really go far for practice. They won't have to go to a big hotel and take buses everywhere, that kind of thing. Everybody's kind of be in their own little area. They already know it. So I think that gives them a little bit of an advantage as well, even though I think Super Bowl officials are trying to make it as neutral as possible. But, Tampa, there's going to be Tampa fans there for sure if they're in their home stadium. But should be a good Super Bowl. I'm really, really excited. I love Super Bowl Sunday. And it'll be really exciting when that day comes when the Lions are in the Super Bowl. I always think about it every year. One last quick note. I don't know about you, but I always wear my Stafford jersey to the Super Bowl party, wherever I'm at. I just think of the Super Bowl as a celebration of football, celebration of the NFL. So if you're wearing a jersey, Lions jersey to a Super Bowl party, hey, that's okay with me. I know some people have given me flack for that over the years. They're like, well, what are you wearing a Lions jersey? But it's a celebration of football. I've seen other people wear other jerseys of other teams. I like it. I like how it's a celebration of football, and it's the greatest sport, in my opinion, in America, and it's definitely a great celebration. But I hope everybody has a great week out there. Stay safe on the roads, and be careful out there if you're listening there, and wherever you're listening to. Thank you again so much for tuning into the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Check out some of the other shows as well. I know the Michigan podcast, they're taking a little bit of a lull the last week or so, but I'm sure they'll be getting back into it. We have Doc and Jock, the wrestling podcast, the Fan Report, all great podcasts to listen to. Check them out as well. But thanks again, folks, for tuning in. I'm really, really hoping to get some guests. I really tried hard this week to get some guests associated with Dan Campbell or Matthew Stafford and some ex-Lions. A couple of them had played with Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford at the NFL level, but just could not have any luck this week. Hopefully next week or the week after I can get these guys on for you, because I know a lot of listeners out there really enjoy those guests. But until next time, folks, Notes Lukey signing off, and thanks again for listening to Open Mic Night.